A Facebook post speaking out against the actions of the members of the Sigma Chi fraternity at this year's Derby Days.
Over 1,000 shares and hundreds of comments later, and the university has launched a Title IX investigation into what happened Friday night.
Suda Upadhyaya joins us now for an in-depth look at what all happened to cause this big controversy. Suda?
That's right, Jennifer. Sigma Chi's annual fundraising and philanthropy event went smoothly throughout the week until the dance competition on Friday night. That's when some vulgar remarks were made that overshadowed the entire event. One Ole Miss student took to social media on Saturday, which has brought major attention to the incident. Ole Miss sophomore Abby Bruce got emotional on Friday night as she watched the Derby Days dance competition.
I felt completely ashamed to be remotely connected with such an organization.
In a Facebook post, Bruce said she teared up as she watched women be humiliated in the name of philanthropy. What Bruce is referring to is remarks made by Derby Days MCs who call themselves Derby Daddies. In her Facebook post, Bruce says Derby Days queens were asked questions like which Sigma Chi they would go down on and what type of sausage they would prefer. Listen here as the MCs refer to Alpha Delta Pi sorority member Bobby Joe Davis by a sexual term.
Alright, Bobby Joe, what's your nickname?
Bobby Smyrna.
So you're telling me your nickname's not BJ? We're gonna go ahead and take BJ on out. Alright, Bobby Joe, alright, I'll give you an easier question. What's your fondest memory of the Sigma Chi basement?
Getting rowdy and neon.
Hey, I know we've already asked that question, but we're gonna go ahead and go with her nickname is BJ.
While Davis declined to speak to Newswatch about the incident, Bruce says many women might be afraid to speak out in fear of backlash.
As a woman, we are taught to just smile and be complacent and accept what is given to us, and it's not okay.
Sigma Chi President Clay Woolley says the fraternity did not do enough to stop the incidents from occurring and says the acts of the MCs fall on the whole fraternity. Woolley also responded to comments of the incident promoting rape culture.
Those things never should have been said. Putting it into the category of rape culture, though, that is that is extreme, like you said. I mean, it's it's supposed to be done out of innuendo and fun, and it got carried away too far this year and shouldn't have taken place.
Since the post was released, the university has begun a Title IX investigation into the matter. The Office of Dean of Students released a statement Saturday saying, if substantiated, the behavior reported at this event clearly violates campus policy and one of the UM community's core values, which is for our students to show respect and dignity for all. UM Director of Equal Opportunity and Regulatory Compliance Rebecca Dressler also added, it is important that members of our community feel safe and supported. Actions that undermine that goal will not be tolerated. While he could not go into specifics, Woolley did tell us the MCs at the event are currently going through an internal judicial process and preliminary disciplinary action has already been taken. Woolley also told me he contacted all sororities involved in Derby Days to apologize about the vulgar comments. Now, this weekend's incident has shed light on another issue. After Bruce's social media post went viral, many sororities emailed their members telling them not to speak to the press and not to share the post. Newswatch was sent screenshots of messages from Delta Gamma, Phi Mu, AO Pi, Tri Delta, and Kappa Alpha Theta asking its members not to speak to the press. We reached out to the 11 presidents of the Panhellenic sororities for a comment, and most did not reply because their national chapters do not allow them to speak to the press. We were also contacted by a former sorority member who was forced to drop from her chapter last night after voicing her opinion on social media against Sigma Chi's and Derby Days. The ex-member wanted to stay anonymous because she feared backlash, and she's not the only one with that fear. We interviewed another sorority member who wanted to talk on camera, but was afraid of what her fellow sisters would say.
There's just a code of silence, basically, among sorority and fraternity members that the way that they act is just the way they've always acted, and that's the way they always will, and that girls shouldn't do anything about it. They should just let it happen.
It's just really disheartening to me that women are being silenced by the type of organization that's supposed to empower them.
If women aren't allowed to speak out and to let fraternities know that, no, we're not okay with this behavior, or to talk about how it affected them, there's no dialogue about it, and that's something that's very important and is needed for fraternities to move past things like this.
So quite a lot going on with this story right now. Remember to follow at Newswatch
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. Today I'd like to come back to the case of the Idaho 4, especially the Sigma Chi fraternity. I've showed y'all in part 1 the same clip of the incident that took place in 2012, and it was about assaults. It was about a grape culture. I hope you'll get my drift. Grape with the R instead of the G. That culture seemed to be really severe at the Sigma Chi fraternity. We heard the president saying that they take the fault, Sigma Chi take the fault, but he meant that using the word grape for them was a bit too much. We heard what these young men were shouting out towards the women and towards the men too, calling them bi and such things. It seems like Sigma Chi has had this really disturbing culture for a very long time. This has something to do with the fraternities, sororities, and we heard clearly the sororities telling each other not to put it out in Facebook. We saw 2 young girls who actually came out and spoke about their experience. And it's really sad to hear, especially as a therapist. You can imagine the trauma, PTSD, anxiety, and maybe further psychological issues that these young people, young women and men, are facing in the fraternities. So we had this severe culture and investigation going on in 2012. It was called the Derby Day, D-E-R-B-Y. They're supposed to be having events for raising money for cancer and other important researches. But the bullying, hazing, graping, harassments, especially towards females, doesn't seem to stop. I believe this time it just went too far, and unfortunately, it became a quadruple. My question is, where is the staff? Aren't these people monitored? They do live in the school campus. Sigma Chi fraternity and other fraternities are part of the university. So where are all the staff when all these young females are suffering? Let's not forget their parents sent them to get an education. Like the girl said, we have our rights, we're not living basically in the Stone Age. That reminded me of Hannah Clear. Although it was said that it was an OD, I don't believe it was an OD. Her father said it was an OD, but it seems like the Sigma Chi, the frats, and the other fraternities and sororities culture is so secretive, they pledge to keep their secrets, that they didn't call 911 for Hannah Clear. She was found unalived 3 days later. Although they said that she OD'd with the non-prescription rug. I don't believe that. And many people in the college do not believe that. They said that Hannah was being bullied by either Maddie or Kaylee or Zano, and she unalived herself. So this bullying hazing, harassing females has been going on since 2012. You'll remember in 2012 there was this young man called Jason. He was found unalived, just like Hudson Lindo, found in a frozen creek. They said that Jason was disorientated. He had marijuana. He had a lot of alcohol in his system. So I personally believe that they hazed him. We saw the same thing happening to DM on Halloween's Day. So my question is, did DM take it too far? I heard that Hannah Clay's brother and brother's child were at the grub truck. They came to take allegedly revenge, which sounds like a serious motive. It makes sense. But I really believe that Kaylee had a stalker. I've always said from the beginning, Kaylee had a stalker, and I won't be surprised if that was Jack D. The reason that I say that, allegedly, is because after looking at all the injuries on his fingers, his timeline doesn't make sense. DNA, red liquid, 6 drops to 5 drops was found in his kitchen, although he shares it with other people, and his professor was very concerned and sent him to mental health counseling. I heard he never went. So you can imagine, his professor said that he was concerned for Jack D after he broke up with Kaylee. They broke up for 3 months, so was he skipping classes and stalking on Kaylee? Very possible. Let's not forget that Hudson Lindo is last night, the poor kid attended the Delta Tau Delt party, his fraternity, the same fraternity that Jack Showalter used to go in. And Jack Showalter got kicked off for harassments towards females. My question today is, where is the staff? These young women don't feel safe. What kind of culture are they running? Is this some kind of rituals? And what happened that night? I believe the 4 victims are unalived with the people they were chilling with, the people who called 911 allegedly because their story doesn't make sense, the surviving roommates allegedly, and the Sigma Chi fraternity boys allegedly, and Alpha Lambda, because their president, Caden Young, was unalived too. He was OD'd by Emma Bailey and Demetrius 4 months later. Isn't that strange? It all can't be a coincidence. I believe Caden Young was going to tell on them. Last but not least, I wanted to remind you all of Tim. What was his name? Reed. Tim Reed. Tim Reed was assaulted badly by the vandals, 50 of them, because they were uninvited to his party. His father filed a lawsuit, and I don't know how that ended, but you all saw the poor boy's face. He was assaulted badly. Great bodily harm. GBH. What is going on in this university? And how come we had 7 people unalived in 2022? Is my question. It started with Hudson Lindo in April, then Hannah Clay, and then the Idaho 4, Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Zana, may they all rest in peace, and then it ended with Caden Young. This all can't be a coincidence. The people we saw around were the Banfield boys. Caden Young was from the Banfield boys. He was their president, and the new president became Nick Scott Green, the son, the president. What is going on in this university. These students were never basically punished for the bad behaviors for harassing females, and isn't a coincidence that the 4 victims, Maddie, Kaylee, Zana, 3 of them were females besides Ethan. Sigma Chi clearly said, rule number 1, take the biggest threat out of the room. And that was Ethan, unfortunately. Like his mother said, 2 a.m. is the hardest time for them. These poor students were backdoored, and this is a culture that either Moscow is hiding or either ignoring, because this has been going on since 2012. As harassments, rape, culture, etc. Please let me know what you'll think. And keep in mind, Jack Showalter got kicked out of Tau Delt for harassments towards females. The same thing he did in Flatbread, allegedly in Boise. He was harassing the females he was working with. Let me know what you'll think. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a lovely day.